Hello, and we should hopefully be live on Twitch. Hey, welcome back to Dragonborn Industries. I'm Ian, the Dragonborn Bard, and this is... Well, introduce yourself, Richard.
I'm Richard from Warrior Prince 3D. Lovely little printing company, as it were. We are on Etsy, Instagram, Facebook. Can handle anything from wee little minis to big little big things. I haven't got any in the camera view right now because obviously, nice painting detail. But yeah, hit us up on Instagram, follow us, message me if you've got any queries or even any sort of custom bits and pieces you want doing. You've got the files, I can print them.
Nice. So, Richard's here because he's going to now be joining me on this again, which is going to be another hopefully long-running show on Dragonborn Industries, and this is called Painting Up the Monster Manual. So, Richard has come in because I'm going to try and go through and do as many of the WizKids models as possible, but they don't do everything from the Monster Manual book. So already within, I think, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be using Richard to get some of his 3D printing done to basically fill in the gaps. But Richard, I believe, is going to be doing all of them with the ones that he prints. So, whereas you can see Richard has down there an Aboleth. And where did you get that Aboleth from?
So this is from one of the very first companies I followed and joined when I first started printing, called Mini Monster Mayhem. And his sculpts are beautiful. Even like the pre-supported bits and pieces, they come, they're perfect. This is all pre-supported, and you've got all the little, tentacly bits will still fine. But he's done all sorts of weird, lovely monsters and stuff. And yeah, one of the very first ones I got them printed for, and never disappoints.
Nice. And you can see spinning around on my close-up camera is the WizKids Aboleth. This is, I got it from my local game store, which is Happy Piranha in Truro. And I'm going to be doing that one. So I've stripped it, I've reprimed it, and I think we're both ready to go. And in a minute, I'm going to hit start on the 1 hour, because we're going to try and do every monster, and this is including the gargantuan fuckers, within an hour each time. So, and like, I'm sort of planning ahead, and I think I know how I'm going to do it. It's going to be a lot of primer-heavy kind of go-tos on that. And this time round, I'm just going to be doing a lot of contrast paints, which is something I'm not very good at when it comes to painting minis, but I think I'm going to be doing the Aboleth like the Monster Manual in this kind of like faded kind of colours, and I think they're going to be thin enough and translucent enough to show that up. But yeah, we're also going to talk a bit about how the Aboleth, and I've told Richard to bring some dice, and he doesn't know why. So Richard, could you go to D&D Beyond for me, please?
D&D Beyond.
Can you go to D&D Beyond, go to Character Generator, and I want you to randomly generate a level 3rd character.
Oh, God.
A level 3rd? A level 3 character. I can talk, I promise. The reason for this is, as we progress through the series, now that I've got you here, I want to show people how dangerous or how not dangerous a creature can be for a starting party. I'm going to get you each week to randomly generate a level 3 character, add some basic weapons. So it's like most adventures start at level 3, right? Because that's when the good stuff kind of kicks in for class abilities, like level 2, level 3. And basically, I'm going to get you to roll initiative against whichever creature it is each week with a new 3rd level character. And we're going to have a little game of D&D.
That is a little bit more fun.
So while we paint, we have 1 hour.
Do you know what's even funnier? I've just done the random creation, and it's a Dragonborn wizard.
Nice! It's not a bard, but it'll do. Awesome. So once you've got that all ready to go, let me know.
Yep.
And then...
Okay. Ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. I hope you have some dice. Hopefully it has some starting equipment.
Double check the starting equipment.
Now, sometimes this is going to be massively unfair. Like today. The Aboleth is a CR10 aberration.
I was going to say it's a bloody big one.
Yeah, they are. So, for those of you watching, I'm going to try and hopefully do a little bit about the creatures as well, and we'll talk about them as monsters and as NPCs and stuff like that. Because an Aboleth is a smart creature. It's got a high intelligence score. They are, in sense of the lore, they come from a primordial age, and the gods banished them from this higher state of enslaving races to the planes of water and stuff like that, and they're just planning throughout the aeons of trying to strike back at the gods, and they can mind control people, and they've got poisonous skin. They're pretty gnarly. So you are probably going to die today, so don't get attached to these characters. But there are going to be other characters that are going to kick a goblin in the face and smash its head in. So,
that's it, yeah.
you know, it's going to level out. So this is why it's going to be like a new 3rd level each week, because I thought it'd be quite fun. You can have any equipment you want that's along the basic lines, you know.
I've just done starting equipment.
Awesome, perfect. And yeah, I'm going to hit this one just here. Now, I don't know whether or not people will be able to hear this music. If they can, let me know in the chat. If it's too loud, let me know. If it's too quiet, if you can't hear anything, don't worry about it, and I'll just ignore it. You can hear it, and Lord of Cats, is the volume's fine for us talking? We'll wait for the response. And in the meantime, Richard, can you roll initiative for me, please?
Thank you. Right. I am using my Dragonborn Industries dice that you have beautifully made for me.
I didn't even know you were going to bring those ones today, so I am very grateful with that. I'm going to tell you now, I've rolled a 14 with a dex of -1. I have a 13.
I've rolled a 2 with an initiative plus of 3, so I've got a 5.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to be rolling initiative, we're going to be doing some combat, and also we are going to be painting up an Aboleth. So this is going to be a hell of a distraction as we try and do this within an hour.
Brutally massacre me, yeah.
Pretty much. I don't think you're going to last more than a turn or two against it, but it could be quite fun. I'm going to get to my overhead for the streaming. Richard, are you ready?
I'm ready.
1 hour, go. So, you are a Dragonborn wizard, yeah?
Yep. Brian,
the Dragonborn wizard. Happy days. You go to sleep one night, and maybe it's been a long day of adventuring, maybe you've pissed off a local warlock or something, and you feel like all of a sudden there's just water around you, and it just envelops you. You feel it go into your lungs, and you begin to choke and suffocate, and then you feel yourself sucked like a river is pulling you away from where you're sleeping. And then all of a sudden, while you're in this torrent of water, you begin to feel like you can breathe, and the water becomes somewhat less sea-like and salty, and it becomes more fresh. Your hearing somehow becomes better, and you are transported to the elemental plane of water. When you get there, you then hear, as you wake up in your stupor, the beginnings of a voice in your head. Strange being, I have brought you here to prove whether you are worthy of being my slave. And you feel this influence go into your mind, and you feel it probing you for information and for particularly whatever you were up to during the day before. It is going to... Can you make me a wisdom saving throw, please?
Please. Okay, wisdom saving throw. Ooh, 18.
18, so you pass. You feel it trying to enslave your mind. You feel it trying to get control of you for some reason. And you manage to shake off this effect. And you are now immune to this effect for 24 hours. With that, you hear this, a stronger mind than I anticipated. You will not do. It is going to try and make a tail attack against you. So,
thank you.
This is going to be a +9 to hit.
Ouch.
That is a 13 plus 9. That is a 21.
No point in even casting shield.
No, because you're a wizard, and I'm assuming your basic AC is low as fuck.
Basic AC is only about 12.
Nice. That is going to hit, I'm afraid. So it's going to take 3d6 plus 5 bludgeoning damage.
Oh my god.
Yeah, level 3 wizard. This could kill you in one hit.
Poor Brian.
Low rolls, though. That is a 1, a 2, and a 4. So that is going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage.
Oh, still half me.
After you, yeah? As it moves in, you feel this like large presence just through the water like it was air. And you are now fully awake after you are slammed with this tail. And it kind of like is just swimming around you. You are up. It is your turn.
Okay, I am going to cast. I can bring my spells up. Right, I'm going to cast Scorching Ray.
Do it.
Right, okay, so make a spell range attack. 3 rays of fire.
Nice.
Right. He's pretty got a hefty armor class as well.
It's not bad, but it is natural armor.
Yeah. Awful. 11.
I'm afraid an 11 misses.
Oh, 9.
Misses.
And 16.
Just misses. It is an armor class of 17. So, we can already see that this, against somebody who's level 3, and, level 3 is not to be sniffed at, but this is a CR10, and CR10 means it is good for an average party level of 10, and usually 4 members of a party. So this is where it's going to pretty much end, I reckon. It's going to be a very quick combat.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't see me lasting this one.
No. Is there anything else you would like to do with your turn? Would you like to try and swim away at all in a desperate haze?
To be honest, I've got my cloak flapping up around my ears and my dress, all sorts of... I don't see me being able to go anywhere, and I'm hoping this is just a really, really bad dream.
You would hope so. You would hope so. However, it is now atop of a new round, and there are going to be some legendary actions going off, because not only... Actually, no, not legendary actions, there are going to be some lair actions, because not only does it have legendary actions, which we'll get to in the next round if you survive, it has lair actions, because these things are primordial, and they are ancient, and they are intelligent. So, we will use from this one here, let's go with the Aboleth casts Phantasmal Force, no components required, on any number of creatures it can see within 60 feet of it. While maintaining concentration on its effect, the Aboleth can take other lair actions. Can't take other lair actions. If a target succeeds on the saving throw, the effect ends and the lair action for the next 24 hours. So, it's going to cast Phantasmal Force on you. I need you to roll a d20, and I believe that is going to be an intelligence or a wisdom, because I don't have that spell here in front of me.
13.
13? The DC for these things is 14, so you weren't far away. So it has this high HP, which I'm going to tell you now is 135 base in the book. And its AC is 17. So actually where we see the difference in, the triad of what we call like hit points, AC, damage is on the damage and the DCs, really. That's where they are the lowest for something that is a CR10. But I'm afraid that 13 is a miss, and it is now its go. It is quite literally going to...
eviscerate me.
Pretty much. Let's see which one it's going to do. We can either do a tentacle or a tail. Yeah, I think we're going to go for the tentacle. So I need you to... now I need to make an attack roll. This is going to be another +9 to hit. That's a natural 20.
Bye-bye, Brian.
Yeah, I think Brian's already dead. And I think inside this Aboleth's lair, it kind of like sees you and it's like, you put up a good fight for a weakling, but I am the master of my domain. And this is all in your head as it just strikes out. It like wraps this tentacle around you and brings it in. The damage is 2d6 plus 5, so that's easily, let's roll it up just to see.
As a last-ditch effort to hopefully save my soul, I reach out mentally to any sort of deific entity or some sort of, nasty thing that might be lurking in the business, and I offer up my soul in exchange for the death of the Aboleth.
Nice. Make a persuasion check for me.
What's this natural one? 19.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so, you send out this distress, this save my soul kind of offering, and by that, you are offering your soul in the place of your life.
Oh yes.
And you almost feel something answer the call. Doesn't make any contact with you, and it doesn't say anything. But as the Aboleth sucks you in closer with its tentacle, you feel this poison start to come through your system. Can you make a Constitution save, please? And can you do it with advantage because of what you've just done?
Okay, 16.
It's a pass. You feel like your body is going to let this in, but then this like dark feeling from inside you. Your eyes feel like they're burning from your head, but it also feels like with that it's purging the poison from your system as it's entering. And the Aboleth's like, no, this is mine to toy with, as it crushes you with its tentacles, destroying your body. And you wake up back in your bed in the tavern in which you were sleeping, water spewing from your mouth and your nose. Drained. You stand up, coughing, spluttering, and move your way over to the wash basin at the side and this cracked mirror in this room. And you look as your eyes are glowing red. And then they just slowly, gradually fade back to their original draconic eyes. And you just hear this separate laugh from a different entity.
Uh-oh.
And that's it.
I made a new friend.
You did. And that isn't that
Aboleth. Nasty.
they are fucking horrible for lower end creatures, and even for entire parties, they're really bad. And
it's not something I've ever fought in D&D.
that is the first time I've run one in combat. So yeah, I literally thought about this like just before the stream, like
As I say, hence the
message like take some dice.
Okay.
So, the Aboleth obviously is an aberration. These are smart creatures, and when we look at the lore of the creature in the book, it is a it's got a lot of lore in there on like how they basically tried to enslave races and how they tried to manipulate the weak-minded through the use of their telepathy, and how they have this perfect photographic memory that spans across the ages, so like they can remember the like wars of everybody and everything that the gods did to like punish them perfectly, and they never forget. And it's I suppose the saying in D&D would be like an Aboleth never forgets rather than an elephant never forgets.
That's it.
So they make these really good layer bosses, and they make really good potentially for lower level warlocks or for
nice water demons, sort of thing.
Exactly that, and
Or
because
water patrons, I should say.
yeah, absolutely, and you know that could lead towards maybe like leviathans, or maybe it's trying to evolve or ascend to godhood, or because they are trying to kill the gods.
As I say, saying that's actually given me an idea for part of my campaign, so that's quite cool.
Oh, nice. But I think they're just these absolute horrible entities of just this like nasty kind of nature where they just plot and devise, and like sometimes it's kind of like a smarter creature is sometimes more dangerous than
A violent one.
yeah, because it can use its mind to manipulate you, and that's sort of what they do. And yeah,
Always the worst thing. I mean, that makes them very good for, as you said, the warlock bits and pieces, because you can do all sorts of fun with that.
yeah, and I imagine that like maybe if you like beefed one up a bit to be like a bit more of a magical power or something.
Yeah, so get more of a sort of deific one.
Yeah, I mean that would be like, because obviously like it says in the law that they are trying to wait and bide their time to fight back against the gods that punish them. Then maybe they are literally like biding their power, or they're doing something that this particular one gets stronger. And there's so many stories you can build off that, and that's 2 pages in this, in the monster manual. And yeah, I thought that was a nice way of bringing us into this episode. So I'm glad you played along.
It's beautiful.
Now
I think.
go to talk about the painting, because I am absolutely smothering this thing in contrast frost heart, and then I'm going to use some greens in certain areas. How are you doing, and what are you doing yours like?
I'm using Frostheart, but I'm only using Frostheart as the where you've got on the fins, where it's a bit of a darker one.
Yes.
I'm using it there and trying to sort of blend it in with the other. I'm using athematic blue on the rest of it, but I've watered down slightly, just so it gives that little, lets the layer below sort of come through with the white and the cream I put down.
Nice.
I was going to try and add a couple of other bits which I forgot to do.
Fluffy Cat Poof, you said there's an echo. Is the echo really, really bad? I had a dream. I'm sure something similar happened to me in Skyrim. Yep. I love mixing Skyrim with D&D. I think it's such a good aesthetic that like so many video gamers know, and I think it's like a gateway into D&D if you haven't played it but you have played Skyrim.
It's one of the better sort of games with someone having sort of experience with.
Yeah. Well, apparently the echo is mainly with you, Rich, but I think that'll be a Discord / me hosting thing like we get with StreamYard with the band of badges. So I'm sure it's probably not too bad. People haven't said they can't hear you, so let's just put it on.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and do most of this body in the actual Frost Heart Blue, and I'm going to then take like the greens and then add in undershading underneath it, do some wet blending, and then use the darker green to go right into those recesses. And then I might add some black to the eyes and a little bit of a purple contrast to where the lips are.
Oh, I've got a voluptuous pink for that, I was thinking.
Ooh, lovely.
What we got? Bit of a green. Think of an emerald.
I'm so not used to contrasts on mass like this, but I crimed it with a wraith bone rather than a white. Actually, I found that's really been working for me recently.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's kind of like a creamy kind of colour. I really like that. I've also
It's very much like the pale sand from Vallejo.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. I've also become a big fan of the TT Combat range of primers because they're like this matte finish. And yeah, I think you saw it like the B1 battle droids I just painted up. They're yeah, they were done in like the PH bone, which is like Pharaoh bone, I think, or something like that for the skeletons. And then just quite literally, I rarely wash a mini anymore. It's one of the techniques that I barely do anymore. And this time I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it in the Seraphim sepia because it's nice and light. And then I'm going to hold the model up so we can see it, please, lads. Yes, cool. I will do it in a second. I'm actually going to put it on the base stand. You go first, Richard.
I don't know how great my camera is, unfortunately.
It's not bad. I've certainly had worse images myself. And yours is, I can see what you're doing. I'm going to finish this tentacle, put it on its stand, and then I will put it on the mini cam for myself. But at the moment, it is quite literally just the one colour on mine, and it's quite brushstroke heavy because I've not got to the point of doing the wet blending yet. I just want to get this base layer all over it. Because I want it to have that almost camouflage in the water. So I guess when we're looking at the Aboleth, and we're going to bring it back to that, obviously it's an aberration, and aberrations are like ancient creatures. A lot of them are from like the far realm, like beholders and cloakers and things. And these are like real monsters. These are things that are, you know, grotesque to us. Things that we like imagine in our nightmares. You know, like a beholder having like, you know, 11 eyes, and the Aboleth having all these tentacles and stuff. It's kind of like the stuff of nightmares. Right, let's have a look at that one. So far, that is the colour on mine there, which is just the Frost Heart Blue, which is the contrast. Richard, is that mini available on your store and your shop?
This one, not as yet. So basically, Mini Monster Mayhem have a higher price for the merchant license than any of the merchant licenses I pay for at the moment. Here's one I'm planning on basically putting into place with it, so it will be available hopefully very soon. However, if you want to buy the file for yourself, I can print it for you.
Yeah, send it over, and then you're allowed to be a 3D printing service that way.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And I can contest for Richard. I can shout out to the Hills about how good Richard's printing is, because I use him. He quite literally is the person I go to when I need something 3D printed, and I 3D print myself. So, you know, to say that, I think that's not necessarily being too arrogant, but like,
thank you for it.
I will
appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll happily say that, like, you know, when I have a job that's too big, like this BD1 that's sat in front of me, which I'm not going to pick up because it's holding my other camera that we're looking at right now. I went to you. Right, so I'm just going to refocus my camera down there, hopefully. There we go. So, I'm going to move on to the next bit. It's only been 20 minutes, you know?
Is that it? Is it?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a nice, easy one to do because I'm just using those contrasts. So at this point, he's my go-to man for prints. Same here, best prints ever. You are getting some praise in the chat, my friend. Let's bring him down a peg, boys. Shit!
Yeah, okay, yeah, give me some knockings.
No, you're good. I think people should agree with you, agree with the people in chat and with me that you are a phenomenal.
It's one of those things. I try and stems from the old retail days of the Wibby check. Would I buy it?
Yeah, exactly that. And I get the same with dice. And because those of you who are watching that don't know, I am a dice maker.
And a phenomenal dice maker. These are beautiful things.
I will take that compliment and nom 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 because it took me a long time to get there. I get a lot of imposter syndrome with my dice.
Oh god, yeah, I feel your pain on that one, my friend.
Because there are so many like companies out there, or like people who make these phenomenal bits of art, and that's where I started. I was like, I just want to do that, and then it became a hobby, and then I was like, you know what? People have asked me if I sell them, I'm going to start doing it, but I'm like, this one's not perfect, and it's not like machine manufactured looking standards, and I'm like, yeah. And I sent out some the other day to a lovely lady in America, and she was just like, I sent 2 because I wasn't happy with the first one, and I messaged her. I was like, look, we're getting close to the 2-week mark of me, saying I'll do this within 2 weeks. Let me know if there's an issue. And she was just like, there was a really nice compliment. She was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. They're both absolutely perfect for me. And I was like, are you sure?
Yeah, it's always that worry.
Yeah, it just kicks straight in, and I'm very glad that she enjoyed them. So I get that. It's nice when people appreciate your work, and Richard, I do appreciate your work.
And I yours. Thank you very much.
It's quite all right. This is going to be just a series of us just.
Yeah, trying to sort each other.
Yeah. Oh, cool. That's nice. Lord of Cats. Cheers, dude. Imposter syndrome is a bitch. Yeah, Craig, it really is. And I think we spoke about that either just before your stream or on your last stream. And yeah, it's a fucking nightmare, really, to be honest. Yeah, and I get it as sometimes as a DM, and even before this, I was like, you know what, I want to do like a little combat with each one of these monsters to show what kind of danger they are to a low-level character. And as we go through, obviously, like I said, we'll try and do some. We will be doing all of the other monsters, and some of those you're going to absolutely decimate in one hit. Other ones,
yeah, I can't wait for G. I'll be happy then.
They're, kobolds and sell your dice from Richard's site. Well, I actually have my own store, which Nightbot will put in there at some point soon. Where I do all my bits and pieces. But actually, me and Richard are trying to partner up with things like this show, where we can show off his miniatures that he prints and get him selling more through our site and hopefully through this particular channels and vice versa. So yeah, it's hopefully going to be mutually beneficial. There's, I think, the conversation we had the other day. And that is kind of...
That's the hope, isn't it?
That's the dream, really. And I know that certainly through like Band of Badgers, who we both do some streaming with, they're phenomenal for networking and they're phenomenal for really putting...
Yeah, Dave is the network king.
Yeah, he absolutely is. So, 37 minutes left, and I'm starting to use my Croxigor scales, which is like a tealish kind of green over certain areas, and this is going to be like underneath mostly, and I'm going to get those like face tentacles.
I forgot about that one.
Is that the one you're doing as well, is it?
No, it's the one I forgot to get out. Because I like that one. It's a pretty one.
I went and specifically bought that one for this, and that was about the extent of my planning.
So when all the contrasts first came out, I ended up buying the whole lot just to sort of try them out, and obviously starting to do the paint thing.
Yes.
So I've got
I'm quite lucky I've got most of them at the moment. But I am also going to be testing out the Army Painter ones very soon.
Yes, the speed paints.
So today I'm just using contrasts, whereas depending on where when I get because I'm getting the Mega Paint set for the speed
beauty.
paints, I will try them, all at once on the stream instead of anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm also somebody who hasn't tried the speed paints yet. I've had I use a lot of Army Painter stuff because it's you can buy it for cheaper on mass, and I like them. I think they're very, very good paints. But
I use their airbrush paint especially.
yeah, I really it's nice and thin really, and I need to pick up that mega set as I do more terrains and stuff and try and get airbrushing a bit more. But yeah, I'm just trying to get those greens on this. But I think the airbrush are nice and transparent as well when you brush them on.
Yeah, I was contemplating cheating on this one and airbrushing, but I thought no, we're trying to show the
Hey, no, if you
the painting side of things.
you do want
No, it's one of those things. Not everyone will have an airbrush, and I quite like to push myself with actually sort of making sure I'm hand painting bits and pieces.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And that is what I should point out to everybody in chat and everybody who's going to be watching this on YouTube is that the point of this show isn't to be the best miniature painter. We want to show you that within 1 hour you can have a tabletop ready miniature. So you don't need to be the best painter if you're just getting into D&D. You don't need to be like Duncan Rhodes. You don't need to have the Matt Mercer effect where you're putting down minis that people go, whoa! Because if you're playing at a table, nobody's going to really question it. The only thing that I would say is don't play with grey. And it's that's a common saying sort of within the gaming industry, because it's a level of immersion, which is what Dragonborn Industries is all about. We want that storytelling to come from absolutely everything, and be it the monster manual and learning about a monster, or if it's painting, it's those colours, those everything about it is going to give it that extra bit for your players that are just going to be like, whoa, and then they're going to be able to imagine things a bit better, they're going to be able to see things a bit better. But it doesn't need to be perfect. I mean, me and Richard both do painting shows with the badges where we try and be a little bit better, but 1 hour, you don't need to spend much more than that on most minis. I don't know about you, but how often do you, when you've got a campaign, how often are you prepped 4 weeks in advance for a mini, or is it literally 2 nights before and you're like, shit, they're facing this on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah, it tends to be 6 to 1 half a dozen. It tends to be trying to get shit ready the day before or the morning of.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'm terrible with that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Hold the mini at arm's length to judge it. Yeah, exactly that. You basically hold it there and go, right. Yeah,
it looks alright.
Yeah, and as long as because the main thing I'm doing now is covering up any grey or any kind of patchwork, because that's what I want to not have showing, because any patchwork will be a little bit less immersive. But right now, I could probably throw that down on the table because it's all blues and green underneath, and people would be like, yeah, cool, that's clearly a water monster of some kind. But we're just going to go that little further to get a little bit extra in there. I'm going to make sure that mouth is nice and purple, so it looks kind of leech-like. It's got this maw on it that's. It looks like. Have you ever seen the X-Files Host, that episode where there's this thing that swims around in the sewers and stuff, and it latches onto people and it can control them?
I think I remember, yeah.
It's really early series. I remember it being one of the first ones. I was like, ugh! And I was really young watching it. It looks like one of those. For those of you who know some of the campaign settings for Dungeons and Dragons, an Aboleth shows up in Waterdeep, but it's not the Aboleth that you would imagine. It's not like this variant. It actually comes in the form of a stone called the Stone of Galar. I was talking to Rich about this earlier. I'm painting tabletop D&D stuff for a mate, and painting them as if they were display pieces. And that's awesome, and display pieces are beautiful, and I think I did my Dragonlance character, because we're not playing with minis at the table, I just wanted to paint him, and I did that to one of my best abilities. But to be honest, whenever I'm throwing down a mini at a table there and then that day, I will blitz through it and just try and get it as close to the monster manual as possible, or the best interpretation of what I had in my mind, and go from there. I spend a bit more time on terrain, because that can be a lot more immersive. But yeah, you don't need to be the best painter to get into D&D minis.
You've always got to start somewhere.
And there is that as well. I mean, again, back to Band of Badgers, Dave, when he first started the brush off, he he was like always said that, you know, I'm not very good at this and stuff, and like he's actually come a long way. I mean, if you've seen the latest episode with him and JD Weicker of WizKids painting up the Baylor from the Frameworks range, dude's getting a lot better.
Well, that's it. It's always practice. It's brush control. You know, learning the little techniques, learning what paints do, colours do, and even sort of knowing where to get your brush and the little cheeky workarounds that you make for yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think one of the main things I did in the last episode, the Aarakocra for episode 1, was to dry brush pretty much the entire thing. And I don't tend to use washers if I want it to be a quick paint job, because they just sink in and take forever to dry. But also, although they show up all the detail, they can do it a bit too much and make it look a bit wet. Whereas with a mini like this, we want that wet look because they're in lakes, they're in underwater dungeons, they're in the plane of water. But the Aarakocra, I was able to just like prime it black, dry brush through the brown, so it ended up with this really kind of like, oh, we're out of focus again. This really kind of deep look that I didn't have to do much work to. And that was sort of the point of it all. Right, let's get some of this over here.
How are we looking for time?
You got 30 minutes. How you feeling?
Yeah, I've done one half.
Awesome.
Gone one side at a time. Trying to sort of blend as I go.
Oh god, coffee. Thank you for the coffee reminder, Lord of Cats and Dibs78. What are you drinking today, Rich?
Me, I got a nice cup of Earl Grey.
Nice.
And a glass of orange juice.
So I'm quite literally taking some of the technical paint, which is Waystone Green, which is quite a thick paint. It's not one of the contrasts, and I'm actually painting in like the gills, which is on either side of the head there. And although they've got gills, they can breathe in both air and water. They are amphibious in D&D. Right, there's that one there. I'm probably going to add a bit of that to each of the tentacles, just on the underside as well. Because this thing is all tentacles and mouth, really. And then, when we're done today, I will post my image on Instagram. I'm sure Richard will do the same. And that's probably where you'll get a better image of these once they are done. So has anybody in chat ever fought an Aboleth before in their campaigns? How did it go? Did you get absolutely decimated like the level 3 Brian the Dragonborn wizard, or did you have a decent DM that didn't just send you into slaughter at level 3? So obviously that was an unfair fight earlier. Oh, rum tea, wow, gunfire. I've not seen that in years. Yeah, and obviously like, Richard could never, he could have won that battle maybe with certain talking, but only giving himself over to the Aboleth realistically, and that's not really winning when you lose a character like that. Not that you ever win in D&D, it's just a game of storytelling. But yeah, if I was to throw this at a load of level 3s, it just would not be fair. It's just asking for a TPK.
You'd have to have level 3s, but you'd have to have some sort of environmental
advantage.
Advantages in certain bits and pieces.
You could take them out of the water. So, like, if you've got a scroll of plane shift, let's say, that would help you. But I mean, again, that's like a 9th level spell.
Yeah, it's not a small bit of kit.
No, for a lower level adventuring party to get hold of that, something incredible must have happened, or somebody very generous must have given it to them. So yeah, this is one of those monsters that maybe, because I mean, you don't have to fight in D&D. You can run. That is an option, and a lot of people think it's fight or die.
Yeah, that tends to be people's responses, especially I found with some of my parties and stuff like that. Never think about how you could get away.
Yeah, or talk to things, or negotiate, because, especially smarter creatures with an intelligence, or things that actively talk to you in combat. It's,
If it's monologuing, you've got a chance.
Well, if it's monologuing, you start rolling dice. Just get in there quick. But it's certainly a not always a do or die situation for D&D. You can run, and that's perfectly fine. If anything, it can add to the story, because then you've got something chasing you, or you have to go back and defeat it. Maybe it's got an item that you require, or maybe it's something that, you know, you need to...
Becomes a nemesis.
Yeah, exactly that. So, it's not all... Combat's not always about killing the creature. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking the Waystone Green, and I'm just adding it to the deeper recesses instead of a wash now. I'm just going to see if I can flip that over to the other one. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to try and redo the tops of those tentacles and stuff so that it's a bit more smooth, that we don't just have this kind of like wash everywhere. But we're just putting those in there to add some shadows, and that is pretty much all that we're going to be doing here, is just adding different shades in, because we're pretty much done. I need to colour in the teeth, because the teeth on the monster manual, they are quite literally there and white or cream, and then I'm going to do the 3 eyes in a solid black.
Have you got a gloss black?
No, but I've got the Army Painter Chaos Black, and then I'm going to use Ardcoat on top of it. But I might mix in a little bit of the Waystone Green with the black, just to kind of tint it that little bit of green. That way we get a nice, kind of deep, aquatic look, hopefully. So you're going to throw an Aboleth at your party now, are you?
Oh, I've needed some sort of other deific presence, powerful, creature within the realm.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually had anything from the ocean yet. So.
Oh, really? So,
yeah.
Let's check the chat. Rumty, I was about to say that if you swap a sword for an axe for a rod and a net. Yeah, maybe. They would struggle. I think anybody in a net underwater would struggle. What brushes are you guys using? I'm actually using a mix of my, unfortunately, my shittest, most tatty brushes, because I was just throwing on a load of contrast and I didn't need to be too smart. So they were just like some beaten up Citadel layer brushes. My favourite brushes are the Regiment from the Army Painter, as that's like usually my layer brush, and then the Artificer layer from Citadel, which is my detailing brush. But for the eyes today, I'm going to be using the Insane Detail from the Army Painter, because that'll give me just that ability to get into those eyes, because they're tiny on this miniature. What about you? What are you using, bud?
My blue ones are Winsor Newton Cotmans, which I get straight off Amazon.
Yep.
My fine detail one, again, is a Winsor Newton Series 7, and that's just one of these small miniature brushes. And I use a Citadel layer brush to mix paints.
Yep. Pretty much the same thing here. My Citadel layer ones are tatty because I quite literally use them for mixing and layering. But otherwise, to be honest, it's my Artificer layer that gets the most beating in my Regiment brush from the Army Painter.
That's it.
Dry brushing wise, I tend to actually, something I do is I go to Poundland and I get makeup brushes.
Yeah, I got a super drug and I get the cheap makeup brushes.
Ah, they're amazing. I got like 3 of these for £1, and they're so soft, and they're rounded off, and it's like Alex, who does 2 guys 1 cup with me. I felt so bad for him because he said I'll check these dry brushes out, and they're phenomenal. Like, he paid £17 for them, and they look amazing. And I was like, this was £1. And they are better, you can tell, but like for what I do and what I need them for, it's really yeah.
Well, that's it. The problem is the dry brushes get the beating.
Yes, Dibs. Insane Detail is great. I have tried the Psycho. I have one here. I used to have many of them. However, I used them so much that they're all gone now. That's the last one, so I save it for the whites of eyes and like the reflections, basically. So I may get that out in a bit. We'll see. Let's mix up our black and Waystone Green. So do you ever mix black with other things to get like different shades of black?
Yeah, try and get sort of different sort of slight sheens in the colour.
Yes.
I do that. It's good with the glossy black from Vallejo I've got.
Oh, nice.
It works quite well, and I also use a grey black as well.
Yes. So I, especially when I'm doing things like Yeah, my last Psycho has one hair left. That's pretty much where I'm at with my Psycho, and it's like, you know what, I'm just not going to touch it. But since that, because I've favoured my Artificer layer, and I like, to the point where like I keep them inside their tubes, and I keep them with their lids on them, unlike my other paintbrushes. They're quite good, and my brush care for them is to try and use a soapy water to always round them off after I've cleaned them. But I am quite bad for actually...
I use this. I've got Master's brush cleaner.
Oh, nice. I'm really bad for washing it and then putting it in my mouth.
Yeah, I'm terrible at that.
And I know I shouldn't. I was chatting to JD the other day and he was like, no! I was like, yeah, okay. Right, so I'm adding the black now to the eyes. And this is probably the hardest bit of this mini, because those eyes on there for the WizKids ones are tiny. And it's all about, like, I have to, like, grip the mini in a way that, like, my both hands can support each other. And I've got that stability to, like, start the brush strokes before you get to the mini.
Yeah.
But we're getting there. I certainly don't think it's my best paint job. But it will certainly be table ready. How are you doing? How are you getting on, Richard?
Yeah, I'm sure it's the eyes and teeth, just giving everything I want over. I'm sure I've not missed any massive parts.
Yeah, that's what I need to go around and do in a second, because I can see one right by my thumb.
Yeah, I just found my own tentacles.
Now, I might, for the sake of it, give it a little bit of a green glow on its eyes as well, just because of the telepathy. I mean, that would give the...
show off now, aren't you?
Well, it's quite literally going to be a technical paint. It's going to be the Hex-Ray Flame. And I think that's going to be...
X-Ray Flame is a lovely one.
Yeah, I think that and Tesseract Glow are the go-tos. Yeah. I think the Dragonborn you sent me, I did a lot of that on them.
I used Hex-Wraith on finished printing Hell day before yesterday, and her base is massive necromantic energy.
Oh, yes!
Right, awesome. I took some UV photos, so having the green show up under the UV, and that was brilliant.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. I don't do enough of that, actually. We'll have to, when we get to some arcane classifications during this stream, we'll have to try and do that.
If there's time before we finish, I can show you. I'll show you what I've done with it.
Well, I mean, once we finish the hour, once paintbrushes are down, you can show us whatever you want. But I'm trying to blitz my way through this.
How long we got left?
You've got 18 minutes and 50 seconds. I mean, I could happily throw this down on the table right now, but it's a little bit patchy. So I'm going to take... Where is... Oh, I could use that. Nighthorn. No.
Nighthorn?
Could that go over it nice and transparent? No, we're not going to use Nighthorn. And I will say, like, actually, for this particular mini, because it is technically a large mini, it has been nice with the contrast paints for speed. It's something I'm not used to, because again, I tend to work with the standard...
Array.
Yeah, from Army Painter, Vallejo, and Citadel. And I even work with De La Rowney, is it?
Okay.
Their rings. Yeah, De La Rowney, these things.
I got the Liquitex inks at the moment. Yeah, I know they're brilliant though.
Yeah, I use those a lot through the airbrush, but I actually found that for certain highlights, things like the blacks and the whites, and yeah, they tend to work quite well. Right. Do I get ballsy enough to dry brush this thing?
I was literally just contemplating that myself.
So I wasn't going to, but because we've said it, I might do it with Bacharoth Blue. Really light.
Just have you got your airbrush to hand?
I have, but I'm not going to use it.
No. Give it a dry.
Oh!
You use the air in the brush just to dry it.
See, mine's
before you dry brush.
I've got a relatively good. Oh fuck! I've got the. No, I don't have it to hand. I've got the table. The airbrush is being cleaned in the house. It's fine.
Puff on it. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I got 17 minutes. It's more than enough time.
I'd say give it 5 minutes. You should dry out a little bit.
No, I'm actually going to glue this back to its stand now. So, these come on, for the WizKids ones, they come on stands and then you glue that to the base. But I actually took my stand off because I really wanted to get underneath. So that's the stand glued to the base on its own. And you can see where it was attached to the Mini down there. I took mine off because I really wanted to get underneath that, because sometimes those stands, when they're in, they leave like a white hole, obviously because you haven't painted underneath the clear acrylic. And yeah, I find that taking them off is a lot better for the flying ones or ones that are floating. Right, dry brushing time, let's do it. So I'm taking Bacharov blue, I think it is, and I'm quite literally using a paper towel, and I am taking off the majority of that blue. And I'm just gonna, from the top, hit it in a downwards motion.
Baharoth, is that one of the layers, or is that?
Yeah, it's a layer paint. I think all I've used for this is those contrasts, that technical.
One of the few blues, I think.
Yeah, so I'm on about 5 or 6 paints, which is actually more than I expected to do. I'm going to give it a bit of a heavier dry brush over the tops of like any like tentacle like apexes of the bend. And hopefully we'll get a nice like, not quite patch effect, but we'll get a lighting effect from that. How did I pop it off the stand, Craig? I pulled it off. I quite literally just like grabbed the Mini. This one was quite good. I could grab the Mini and just pull it straight out. It was a very small amount of glue in there. However, the Aarakocra I had to be very careful with last week because its back claw of its right foot is inside the actual acrylic stand itself, and the other one goes up to the bottom of its foot, and that was a little bit of a bastard to do. So I had to be careful of that, and I got I think it was a set of tweezers, and I just gently like pried it off and went that way about it. Speaking of Band of Badges brush off show, I've not had the pleasure of painting with Richard yet. You two absolutely should, because Craig is an awesome dude, Richard, and Richard is an awesome dude, Craig.
Hey.
Right. And obviously, Craig has just started his own YouTube channel, which is Dragon Studios.
I'd say it's just Craig from our little WhatsApp, isn't it?
It is Craig from our WhatsApp, yeah.
Hey.
Who is always kind enough to tune into the shows and is just generally all-round nice dude. And we get to chat about ice hockey when he's on and stuff, which I always like, because not many people in the UK know much about the NHL. So
Yeah, that is a...
it's quite a niche thing for a UK citizen to be into. And
It's like I've got a couple of mates that like the old American football.
yeah, I think that's more popular, especially in recent years, because we've had the Super Bowl like come to the UK, haven't we? Not the Super Bowl, like certain games like Raiders and stuff like that. And I think they played in London, maybe at Twickenham. I can't quite remember, but it's enough.
You went.
After you.
No. Sorry, Karen. It's me going off on a tangent.
I was going to say it's enough that like I think it's going to have driven a popularity thing, but not enough that I've noticed it myself.
Yeah. You went for green on the eyes, didn't you?
I added a bit of green to the black. Yes.
I think I'm going to go yellow just to be that little bit different.
Lovely. So I think with Aboleths, with the Aberrations, I think you can find them in multiples, whereas something like a Beholder, you wouldn't, because Beholders are terribly xenophobic and racist, basically, against anybody, even their own race. Xenophobic. Yes, xenophobic.
They hate each other because each one thinks they are the perfection of their race.
Exactly. And whereas that's a trait of the Aberration, the Beholder, it's not a trait of the Aboleth. So you could have, if you've got a higher than level 10 party, several of these things. Maybe they're a swarm of Aboleths that are coming together for that deific power.
So you could do it, you've got one big and then a couple of small ones.
You absolutely could. And that's where you come back in with the printing. If you want like a gargantuan beast of this, Richard can print it.
I was going to say, yeah, they literally you can scale up or scale down.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because you had that BD1, and again, I can't really show it because it's holding my camera that's got the paint thing on it. We went from a mini sort of like a couple of inches big to 43. Was it 43 centimeters?
43 centimeters. Yeah,
in height. The thing is amazing, and there are pictures of it on my Instagram and your Instagram, I believe. But I'll try and get some more pictures later.
Yeah, I think I popped a couple up. I don't think I've got anything to hand. I can show what I've scaled up.
So I'm going to use necrotic flesh for the teeth because it's like a greeny bone, and I'm going to try and dry brush that on because with 11 minutes left, I'm not going to sit here and try and paint each tooth individually.
No, the big cheat with teeth is
skeleton horde.
I've done an off-white Vallejo. I'm gonna Reichland flesh shade for a bit of a gap in between.
I've got Reichland flesh.
And then you can either dry brush or add a few little specks of lighter to it.
So you've gone for an off-white and then you're doing that, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so my off-white is going to be skeleton horde, necrotic flesh from the army painter. And then I'm going to put that Reichland on there. But I might, from the army painter, put cursed saw. Cursed saw? What is it? There is a very nice reddish purple crusted saw in the back of the mouth.
I just cheated and I put contrast Vulture's pink in the mouth.
Nice. Is that the magenta?
Same using the gums.
Yeah, I've gone with purples on the gums, and then I'm going to put that crusted saw right in the back of the mouth. So, 10 minutes, Richard. How you doing?
Good. This one should do a bit of dry brushing and that's it.
Oh, lovely. I think I'm almost done as well. I'm now just doing extra details. So again, for those of you who don't mini paint, and those of you who spend hours and hours and hours painting phenomenal models, this is, again, designed to show you that you don't necessarily need to, especially when it comes to D&D, because the chances are this is only ever going to hit the table once per campaign. If that. And I think that's what I've learned as a DM over the years is, I could spend ages painting a dragon, or I could spend ages painting something, and then that one giant red dragon would be like part of a combat, and then they'd be like, fuck that, we're running. And it's like...
And that's it. Did you do the pictures I put up of the city battle map I've done?
Did they even go there?
Yeah, they went there, but obviously it's just one fight, and they're going to be leaving that city very soon and not going to a city for a long time.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of like the joy. And I remember very early in the campaign that my main group and I are currently playing, which is a homebrew world of mine called Agorath, and there was I had this ancient red dragon's lair who was long dead and had sort of been brought back to life with necromancy. So they were sort of fighting like a lowered down red Dracolich, which is just a skeletal dragon. And basically this it was the culmination of trying to trick them from the hidden BBG into getting into this area, and then him betraying them, and it being this whole awful moment. And it ended up in a partial TPK, which didn't end the campaign, but it propelled the story. And it was this big reveal for them. But I had it set up on the table, and it was during COVID, so I was playing over WhatsApp and Zoom and Messenger and stuff like that. And I'd have my phone above the table, and it was just crazy because every week I would have to before I was in the studio, have to set up and be okay, maybe it's this week they're gonna get to it. Maybe it's this week they're gonna get to it. Yeah. Maybe it's this week they're gonna get to it.
Maybe.
And it took 3 weeks of me doing it before they eventually got there, which is fine. But it's just funny because I'd have to set it all down and set it all back up, and I had candles and those.
Yeah, getting it all ready and going.
Oh, I went full bore on it, and it was funny because they may not have even ended up there. They could have completely bypassed the entire thing. So I was very grateful that they went in, but yeah, it was funny.
Could have been a lot more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it was just this big moment in our campaign. So I'm hoping that now that we've got the Aboleth done, that I'll get to put that into something somewhere, because they are level 10 at the moment, and
well, my guys have just got to their level 12 or 13 now.
Nice.
So I'm trying to think, and it's It's not a small party. There's 6 of them.
Oh wow, yeah, I got 5 guys. And,
So it's trying to think, what can making sure it's still challenging sort of thing.
yeah, and that's it, because I find that once you get to sort of like level 9, 10, killing a PC is almost impossible. Not that it's you trying to kill them, but there's no real danger for them as players.
I'm trying to kill them.
I will let them know beforehand I am not going to hold back, and that's my usual word to them, to know that like this NPC is trying to kill you. It's not me versus you, but this NPC is going to try and kill you, or this monster is not that kind. So they know the danger's there. However, at level 10, they've got all the abilities, all the magic, and they've got everything they need to basically live, die, and then live again.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where the Aboleth can take control of them, and it can, like, when it takes control of them, it learns everything about them, and it can remember that perfectly for the rest of its life, which is part of the reason this is like such
thing.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where, like, maybe if you're using it as a deific thing or a warlock thing, you could then be like, it's going around using you as a way to learn about what's happening in the world or in the material plane. Right, that's my Reichland flesh on the teeth.
I just managed to catch one of the bloody eyes on the dry brush. So.
I did that, and I had to go back in. I'm actually going to go back over mine with a little bit of hard coat. You have 5 minutes 30, Richard.
Oh.
Craig, have you ever faced an Aboleth? If you're still there, bud. Because I know you haven't played for a while. I think you said last time we streamed together, but I didn't know if maybe you'd faced one in the past, or from like AD&D and stuff, or anywhere in your previous campaigns. I'm gonna have a swig of coffee. I think one of the other cool things that an Aboleth can do, they have like a regional effect on their lair, like a lot of aberrations and dragons do, and they can project an image of themselves within a mile. But they can also use that image as a way of communicating, or a way of it almost being like a scry spell or an arcane eye, and they can basically do almost everything from that point. That's pretty cool.
And very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, you can have them just show up to the party, start a combat, and yeah. I'm afraid of breaking the damn things. And Lord of Cats, you can do it, guys. Paint like your heart's paint it your heart's content. Isn't the best bit of being a DM finding a fun, challenging, and deceptive way of killing your players? It is. It absolutely is.
Right, it is.
Yeah, and I think that part of that is, that group chemistry of like it's real emotions. Like we play D&D, and it is quite literally real emotions you're feeling through a character that's not real. And if you
I think it's the best way to play though, like that. When you get so involved and it's such, it becomes that sort of thing is what unlocks the best sort of D&D experience.
Yeah, and it's all in the RP, and it's all in the kind of enjoyment of the emotion of it and the storytelling, which is the whole point. Which is why when it comes to painting, immersion I think is so good. I think that like obviously combat is the most mechanical part of the game, and like earlier, it's turn-based like the old RPGs because it has to be. And although that means it's slower, 60 seconds in D&D is like 2 hours at the table. If you stick down a load of grey, it's going to become a tabletop game. If you put down painted minis and terrain and stuff like that, I think that level of immersion becomes so great that your players can like enjoy it even when it's not their turn. And they can look at things from a different angle. They can be like, oh, what's this over here? What's that over there? And I think it just adds that little bit, extra immersion. So hopefully shows like this will show you that you can do it in very quick amounts of time, and it doesn't need to be the best, but it's just not playing with a grey mini on the table. But the last thing I'm doing is I'm taking some of my Bakharov blue and I'm adding some white to it, and I'm going to just do some minor highlights to things like the tips of fins and the tips of tails, and that's going to be me done. How are you looking?
I am literally just doing a slight bluish wash over the cream I've done on the scales at the bottom, and then I'm done.
Now, I expect everyone, Richard's to be much more better than mine.
I wouldn't go that far.
Because Richard, I would say, is a better painter than I am.
We could do this all day, I said go saying that back and forth.
Yeah. Take the compliment, damn it!
Take it, you bastard.
But yeah, it's just an absolute pleasure to actually have you here and hopefully now be part of the show from now on.
Well, that's it. That is the wonderful. Right, I'm going to say I'm done.
I too.
Nice tabletop ready there.
Cool. You have 1 minute 42 if you got anything left that you want to do.
I think I won't braid anything. I'll leave it.
Oh, he's leaving it. He's leaving it.
He's
He's putting his pots and pans down and...
Where's me black?
Oh, he's running back to the kitchen! It's almost like the final like highlights. It's like just adding a little bit of cream free-ish. So, there. It's quite nice. The Nolzur's mini has like these muscle striations on them down the tentacles, like these apexes of like the rounded bit. So actually, even though the dry brush it was quite heavy, it did a good job. I can actually get it with the side of a brush and just add those little bits of different colour.
Little bits of what you want, yeah.
It's that cartoon style highlighting.
There we go. Blacken the base now, so that's alright.
I'm gonna call
30
mine
seconds
done.
left.
You got 30. You have 26 seconds left. Here we go. So, dibs. We've just faced an Aboleth in my main campaign. Took us a lot of power to kill it. Yeah, they're fucking awful. They're really, really hard to kill. And if your DM's smart,
oh Brian, yeah, he knew.
and if your DM's smart, the Aboleth is smart, and they are cunning. 6 seconds. I'm done. So I'm gonna call mine done there because there is the alarm.
I'm done.
So. One tabletop ready mini. I'm going to put mine on there in a second. Just read out this comment here. I'm not nor ever have been a player, but I did read choose your own adventure page turn books in my youth, and guess it's a physical version of that, and the player becomes very involved with their character, and getting killed is devastating for them and hilarious for the DM. Yes and no.
I love those books, the old Livingston books, yeah.
Absolutely, and I think that it's devastating for you as a player when you lose a character. As a DM, it can also be devastating. I think early on in a campaign it can be funny, but actually when you grow, not only are you telling a story, you're telling it with people, you're doing it together, but also you're building a world together, and when they're so heavily involved in your campaign, losing that character can actually be quite heartbreaking. And it's, yeah.
And major ramifications to the story sort of thing, and it puts that you know, that heartache side of it, but it also adds a bit of intrigue as to what would actually happen if that thread got snipped.
Yeah, exactly that, and I think you know that's kind of the case when it comes to D&D. However, let us see what we've done within an hour. Then, so we've obviously been talking about the Aboleth. That's what we've been painting up. I've been painting up the WizKids Aboleth from obviously WizKids, and this is their Nolzur's one I picked up from Happy Piranha in Truro, which is my local gaming store. I'm going to just turn that around a bit quicker. There we go. So I mostly used contrast paints just to blitz it out, the main colour of the bodywork. And then the real focal point is those eyes. Those 3 eyes there is kind of like the danger aspect of this entire creature. I've then used some greens to shade in between the tentacles and around the eyes, and I've used some Barahoff blue, which I dry brushed with, and some white to then highlight up the top of the fins and the top of the tentacles. And that's all it is. And again, it's tabletop ready. You could put that on the table and your players aren't going to be like, oh, that's shit. They're going to literally be like, oh god, what are we fighting now? Richard, how have you done?
Right, I don't know how well it will come up on here.
Oh, look at those teeth!
I might have to do a picture afterwards.
You're going to put it on Instagram, yeah?
Yeah, I'll pop it up on Instagram.
And where can people find your Instagram?
You what?
And where can people find your Instagram?
They can find my Instagram at Warrior Prince 3D Instagram page, or even Facebook, because I'm actually had to get a Facebook page as well.
Awesome. It's
I use, if you're the contrast, the Athematic Blue, Edari Emerald, and Croxagore Scale, so most of the body. The Frost Art contrast for some of the fin pieces.
try to blend together in some places. I dry brushed with a Gorse Blasted Green and the where is it? And the Temple Guard Blue,
Nice.
just to give some of the edges a bit of an interesting effect.
Oh yeah, sorry, and I used crusted saw inside the mouth as well. That's about it. Yeah, it's
That's it.
1 hour.
Done.
Are you feeling better about the 1 hour time period?
Yeah. It's when you crack out and you've got that space, like get it done. It makes life a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that anybody who doesn't mini paint, you don't have to do it in an hour. Like that's it. Don't time yourself and be like, oh god,
Yeah.
you're gonna pull your teeth out and it's gonna be horrible. But you don't have to do that much, and it just cover the grey. Go for the main body of colour and then just add anything else after that, and that is all you really have to do. Hopefully you'll see Aboleths in your campaigns moving forward, or maybe you'll fight one if you're a player, and maybe we've given you a bit of information today to go with, a bit of meta knowledge. But yeah, so I guess that we need to talk about what we're painting next, really, as a little spoiler for the next week. Do you know what's next?
If I check the message you sent me earlier, I'll know, but other than that, go for it.
We're going to be moving into Angels. So next up, I believe, is the Deva, which is... yes, so this is a CR 10 challenge again. So, you know, if you fight it, you're probably going to die. And Richard is going to be fighting it. He's going to have another random 3rd level character next week, hopefully. And we'll see what he does in initiative against a creature of such
horrificness.
Such power. And yeah, we'll go from there. I believe I've got a WizKids one for that, and I think you'll be painting. Well, you will be painting one of yours again. So yeah, hopefully we'll see what that mini is when you get it printed on Instagram, and then we'll be back next week with the Deva. But yeah, anything else from chat? So it takes me that long to decide what colours to paint. What colour paint pot to open first? Yeah, I don't know about you, Richard, but I spent a couple of days trying to decide how I was going to do this.
Yeah, it was one of those ones trying to think about the best way to do it and the best, the colour scheme, because I'm crap with colours more often than not. It's trying to think of what will go well and trying to compare to the picture we've got from the monster manual.
Yeah.
It was just about the blue and the bluey greens.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's going to show up on there that well, but like, it might be a bit faded on there. But again, it is. I could have almost just done it in the white, and then we like did a little wash in the areas, and then dry brushed it with the cream on top. But yeah, I think we both went for the same sort of thing of like trying to get those contrasts on there, which is kind of cool. I liked that. We both went to the same sort of area. When will the next show be? Well, Richard, do we carry on with this time every week? Because as long as it's outside of the school time, I'm happy to.
As I say, as long as it's outside of the school time, I'm all good with it. I'm only going to be working from here anyway, so it's all good.
From here. So yeah, I guess we will be back next Thursday at 12 o'clock to paint some Devas. But until then, thanks for tuning in to Dragonborn Industries and for Warrior Prince 3D for essentially, you are technically sponsoring the show. And hopefully we can show off your minis some more, and we can see what you can do with a Deva next week.
That'd be fun.
Awesome. Well, cheers guys. Thank you so much for sticking around and for checking out the show. We will see you next week. Bye.